we should be live.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 192 after some major tawdriness behind the scenes of OBS just refusing to work. And, yeah, basically just scrambling. So things happened. My name is Shank. I'm not alone. We have quite a lot to talk about today. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Joseph.
I really hope
We just scrambled.
I really hope
I don't
you
even know if
enjoy.
we're live. Oh,
We're live.
we
yeah.
are.
I really hope you enjoy the image I have up on our screen. I know Brian would tell us how much he enjoys it, but he is having audio issues, so he'll join us as soon as he gets his audio working. But his Japanese is not improving because he's learning from Shank, as evidenced by this sentence. Yasasin tsukuri Poseidonir turai denturu masu. Hey, that's not even the worst Japanese I've read today. I don't know if you saw the story about Ariana Grande getting a tattoo. It was supposed to read 7 rings, but when you put the 2 words together, it actually means small charcoal grill. And so she has a tattoo that literally in Japanese reads small charcoal grill on her hand.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you have still won the Japanese segment for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because at least yours is closer than small charcoal grill.
Yep.
Quick public service announcement, you guys. We will be announcing Tadrigan details tomorrow. Stay tuned. We're looking to get Arisu Sanu as a special guest because we could not get her last week.
Nope.
Reminder, guys, myself, Brian, Pete, and Shank are extremely excited to announce that the tryouts for the Tawdry Balls Esports League are now officially open. To enter, DM any one of those guys on Twitter. Do not DM me. DM those guys. Also, guys, quick announcement. This is from the Tawdry Balls PR headquarters. This is for immediate release. Extremely proud to announce that we are launching a new festival in the Bahamas called Flame Festival. Details soon. Be sure to DM our Master of Ceremonies, Miserable Brian, and to subscribe to him for all updates and get on our mailing list that we will not abuse later on. After we're, that entire situation.
I'm glad that you guys finally watched it because it is so messed up.
Our fridge broke. I guess this is my quick Windows 10 update. Our fridge has been broken since Saturday, and the earliest a guy could come out from the company that the fridge is warranted through was this morning. And so I had to basically clean our entire kitchen last night and clean out the fridge. And so I had nothing else to do. I can't play Kingdom Hearts while my hands were also in dishes. So I turned on the Fire Festival, and I got so engrossed in it, I watched both of them back to back last night. It was one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. I do not understand how that works at all. And neither did they, apparently.
Nope.
Remember, guys, with the Cytex X52 Pro 5 sticks, this is a thing we do understand. You'll be able to troubleshoot failing RAM. You'll have so much control. I really hope that there's some picture out there on the internet of you just troubleshooting RAM using your Cytex.
I don't even know how that would work.
It wouldn't work, but we would make it work because of our skill and our craft.
You can Allison to Photoshop pictures of my RAM on the screen.
We're going to talk about what we've been playing this week, which for me has basically been one game. We're also going to talk about our main subjects of the evening, which is the game I've been playing. I'm going to be talking my Kingdom Hearts impressions. You'll be talking Anthem, and how the next-gen consoles that are coming aren't actually next-gen, and our colleagues in the gaming media just don't understand it. So I'm going to save my gameplay for after you, because I just read your thing and it says this is my topic as well. So I guess we'll just dive right into it. I'll go first with Kingdom Hearts.
That is real-time reactions, folks. You don't get this on any other show because they prepare.
Right. Yeah. No. You do get this with NVIDIA's press conferences. Though I feel like we are more
right,
prepared.
But they don't prepare. I said because other people prepare. NVIDIA doesn't.
Right. You just said that you won't get this on any other show because they do prepare. NVIDIA is the outlier there because
That's
they
true.
don't. But I feel like we prepare more than NVIDIA.
Probably. I
I
would say so.
I feel like Jensen doesn't have a script. Like, there's no prompter. He hasn't practiced. He's just up there talking as if he's in a board meeting.
Somebody gave him a slide and a clicker which he thinks works with the slides. Like, yeah, NVIDIA
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? It's just buzzwords all over the place. It just flashes in the background. You haven't used the buzzword yet.
Nope.
Anyways, so yeah. I have been playing Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts.
Obviously, Kingdom Hearts 3, because that's the one that just came out. Though I have been playing through all of the rest of them. But I had to put my full playthroughs again on hold because of Atlas. Oh god, that game gives me PTSD. Kingdom Hearts.
Same here, man. I had to return my graphics card.
Though, to be fair, enough people are returning RTX cards that I'm not 100% sure it was Atlas. I think Atlas was just the catalyst. It was the straw that broke the RTX back. Because there have been enough recalls on those cards to just scare enough people away from buying a $1,500 graphics card.
There wasn't enough lighting in that game.
Yeah.
And so my card was like, I can't do this.
Funny thing is the lighting in Kingdom Hearts is better, and it's on a console.
It's on the same engine. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm reviewing it for MMORPG.com. We have a series there called the RPG Files, which I don't understand why that title is doubled up in my review in progress, but it is, so that is what it is. Kingdom Hearts is a game that I have been playing since, gosh, it was 13,
before we met,
14? Well, obviously, I was in middle school. So yes, before we met is an objectively correct thing here. That doesn't make the experience better, though, Shank. Actually, I think it did, because I wasn't bothered by you. So
there was also no Balls Does Begasu.
Well, there was, but
and I didn't challenge your awful Japanese.
It was just me. No, it's your awful. Anyways, just I'm not going to blow up. We're not going to have another soundbite.
It is my goal every week to goad you into another soundbite. I've been trying to do this for like the last 2.5 years, and I've gotten close a couple times.
You have. But then I remember, and I never forget. I am like a bald eagle when it comes to my Japanese blow-ups. That, out of context, would sound awful.
You sound like Goofy because you said, who...
I'm recording. You know that, right?
Hi, Shank and everybody.
What?
My daughter is talking when she shouldn't be.
Where are you streaming, by the way?
Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Mixer.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay.
You to read it.
I'm just gonna go to your thing. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyways, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3, and it is essentially everything that I was hoping it would be. I knew that going into this, I was going to enjoy it. I was one of those fans that it doesn't matter if it's the worst game on the planet, I would find some enjoyment out of it. Just because this is my favorite game series of all time. In terms of game series, like top 3 for me, Kingdom Hearts is at the top. Civilization is like right underneath it. It's my favorite PC series of all time. And then third is kind of like Final Fantasy, Zelda. It just depends on what day of the week it is. And so I knew I was going to like Kingdom Hearts regardless. I was going to play through it. I was going to enjoy it, even if it was just a garbage game. And I'm very happy to say it's not garbage. It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any stretch. But it is not garbage. Specifically, what I love about this so far, and I mentioned this in my review in progress, which is up on MMORPG.com, like I said, is that it feels like it has one foot in the past and one foot squarely in the present. And what I mean by that is it has a very PS2 RPG era style. So even though the worlds that you are exploring are a lot more expansive, a lot more open than they ever have been in this series, they still have that focused PS2 linear quality as well. So you will still find that you're kind of on a path going through these levels. But you can also explore areas. There are a few areas I can't it's stupid because I'm technically still bound by an NDA until my review is released, because I got my code through Square Enix. So there are people who have bought this game who can obviously talk more about the game in terms of like later on stages than I can, simply because of the NDA I signed. But there are parts later on where it really opens up and kind of lets you. There's still a singular path you kind of have to go down, but it gives you more ability to explore the environments. Where you really see this come into play at first is in that very first world when you go back to Olympus. And in the previous games, if you've played them, you know that Olympus was always just the Colosseum. Kingdom Hearts 2, you had the Colosseum, and then you had the Underworld. But the Underworld was just kind of like this labyrinthian cave. It wasn't really this open, demon underworld that you can explore. With Olympus, it's this free-flowing, sprawling... basically, it's kind of downtown Thebes in ancient Greece. And eventually you'll fight your way up to Olympus because, like any other Disney element in this game series, you're basically playing through parts of the plot of the movie. And with Hercules, you never actually did that previously. You were always just in the Colosseum learning how to fight. Hercules had lost his power in the last game and you had to help him re-find it. In this game, you are fighting the Titans. I think you also fought them in Kingdom Hearts 2, if I remember correctly. And
You did.
You don't know. One recap video does not a Kingdom Hearts expert make. So you fight the Titans in this one. It's actually a really cool fighting sequence. The combat, I think, is really what makes me think of PS2, though, because even with all of the modern flourishes in terms of just the visuals, the animations being as fluid as they are, the responsiveness, even with frame rate issues, it still feels incredibly responsive to me. I don't know. I think you've been playing it as well. I don't think you've been playing it as long as I have yet.
I haven't, but I will say that playing it in the unlocked mode, it feels, in terms of like I press the button and something happens, it's pretty responsive. But like the jankiness with its unlocked frame rate is just they need to fix that.
And I'll get to that in a few minutes. But this entry into the series kind of brings a lot more to the combat. So you've got attractions, which are basically like weaponized Disney rides from the theme parks. So you can go on like Buzz Lightyear's blaster ride and rack up a huge score. You can go on the big pirate ship and swing to your heart's content. My favorite so far has got to be the teacups, because you're just kind of spinning around, knocking Heartless away with this massive Alice in Wonderland teacup. Is the stupidest looking thing.
I feel like I would do that in real life.
Yeah, no, we totally would do it. Dude, if I had like massive teacups I could just spin around and whack people with, yeah, I'd be there. The other major thing with this is in Kingdom Hearts 2 you had like these drive modes, and you had different modes that kind of really exemplified one statistic. So you had like a mode that was really good with magic, one that was really good with offense, and one that was good with defense. And then I think you had like one final mode. And those really changed the combat in Kingdom Hearts 2. Well, with the plot of Kingdom Hearts 3, you have actually forgotten. You've lost all your power. You almost succumb to the darkness in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, and you lose all of the power that you've accumulated to that point, including what's called the power of waking, which is what Yensid, the wizard from the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and is kind of like the head keymaster in Kingdom Hearts 3. He keeps telling you that you have to find the power of waking, and gives you nothing more than that to go on, which is very Kingdom Heartsy. And so you have to regain your power. And while you do get a form change with your Kingdom Key, the changes are actually dependent upon the Keyblade you're using. So one Keyblade will turn, like the Keyblade you get from Olympus will turn into a shield that you can block damage and do massive amounts back. When you finish a combo, it actually summons a ton of like lightning clouds that spin around you and do a ton of area of effect damage. Its final move is it actually spawns a Pegasus chariot that you fly around the battlefield doing shock damage. Another one turns into like an arrow blaster that will eventually also turn into a massive rocket launcher. The Toy Story one turns into a giant warhammer. It provides so many different unique gameplay, combat experiences that it really behooves you to know what each one is good at. Because one of the other major changes to the combat is you can actually carry 3 keyblades at a time and switch between them in the middle of combat. Before, you couldn't do that. You had to just equip the best keyblade you had. But again, the form changes weren't dependent upon the keyblade in previous games. So I really like what they did here because it makes each keyblade feel unique. And it makes each one feel valuable because you're not just getting the next keyblade and moving on. I'm still using the keyblade I got in like the 3rd world because I've upgraded it enough, and I really love the magic statistics it has. Its form change basically turns it into this all-powerful magic laser wand thing. But when you dodge and you spawn an exact copy of yourself that also does combo damage when you're comboing. So it just adds so much more DPS to the battlefield. But even after all that, if you were to have played Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, even any of the Kingdom Hearts in between, and jumped into this combat, you would very easily be able to pick it up because it's so rooted in the style that has made this game so popular for almost 2 decades now. Like I said, I'm about 20 hours in. I'm on the 8th out of the 9 worlds, and then I believe after that is kind of like the home stretch. Seeing what Organization 13 is up to in like the last battle. I don't know if this is the end game in the entire series. I just don't know. Nobody really should know because they just patched the epilogue in yesterday. So even reviewers who had the game before any other reviewer didn't have the epilogue because the studio was so afraid of spoilers because there were so many leaks. Which I actually kind of agree that this was the
kind of smart.
Yeah. The day 1 patch wasn't to fix things. It was to make sure that the incredibly convoluted but amazingly good story wasn't spoiled before it came out. Because a retailer broke street date or a reviewer couldn't just keep their mouth shut. So I like that. Be warned, though, if you do watch Kingdom Hearts 3 videos on YouTube, just even reviews or whatever, there are so many leaks out there from previous copies of the game that got into the wild that the algorithm will not care and you will see spoilers. So maybe stay off YouTube until you beat this game. It's not hard. YouTube isn't that important. Though those of you watching us on YouTube right now, stay on YouTube. For me, I am loving every moment. Like, this game has brought me so much joy, and I believe part of it is because I just came from reviewing Atlas, which didn't bring me a whole lot of joy. But there is just something that about Kingdom Hearts 3 that has me smiling pretty much every second I'm playing this game. But like I said, it's not perfect, and Shank, you alluded to this as well. It does have its fair share of frame rate issues, specifically frame pacing. It is all over the place. It's atrocious. Digital Foundry put out their analysis today, and
which I finally watched when I went home, which was...
It's a pretty good analysis, and it's kind of in line with what you and I were both talking about this morning. I was saying the Xbox One X, at its core, it is in its default state, has the best performance, but even then, it's not locked. But it's the closest to 60. The PS4 Pro, if you have one, and you're willing to play this at 1080p, you can actually go into the PS4 Pro settings and change the output to force 1080p, and then it clears up a majority of the frame rate issues. It stays the closest to 60 as possible. Now that doesn't change the frame pacing. The frame pacing is still garbage, so it's not a very good feeling 60, but it's better than, going from 40 to 60 just by turning the camera. The Xbox One and PS4, the base consoles, are the worst, with the Xbox One taking up the rear there. And I think at points it was even dropping into the 30s. And then you have the stable mode, which is a lock 30 FPS, but even then, it's not... I think it is a locked 30, but the frame pacing is so bad it just doesn't feel like it's kind of Bloodborne-ish. Bloodborne literally gave me a headache.
It's an average of 30 FPS, but the frame times in that average are not evenly paced, so it's just terrible.
Yeah. I don't know what mode you've been playing it in. I know you've got a 4K TV, so either way, it's not going to look as crisp as it could.
Yeah, I've been playing it in the I experimented with both, and I ended up just choosing the higher frame rate one, just because honestly, like I really wished the modes that they had provided gave you an option for 1080p, because the Xbox One X will just crush 1080p at 60 FPS,
Yeah.
or that 30 FPS mode actually lock it to 30 FPS with even frame pacing. Like either of those I'd be fine with. I on a console, I don't like variable kind of unlocked frame rates because just of the nature of TVs. TVs can't handle that kind of stuff. So there's always some weird janky VSync triple buffering going on. So I can kind of feel the stuttering, but I've been playing with that unlocked mode because at least it's like more responsive stuttering than in the 30 FPS mode. Uh, it's I have absolutely no clue what's going on. I'm in Thebes doing things with Donald Duck and Goofy.
Have you gotten to Olympus? Obviously, you have.
I have?
Have you met Hercules?
Yes.
Yeah, you've gotten to Olympus then.
Okay.
You know, you landed in like a Greek-like setting, and it flashed Olympus on the screen.
Oh, I thought I was in Thebes.
Okay, you are technically in Thebes, but the world is Olympus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm in Greece. I'm doing stuff. I'm basically playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah. No, but yeah.
I legitimately so the whole story behind this is that I watched after last week's show, I went and watched the entire 37-minute recap by Eurogamer, which is actually really well done. Good. I still had no idea what was going on, but I was like, okay, so this story seems kind of intriguing, even though this is completely jacked and I have no clue what half of these words mean. So Bradford very kindly was like, hey, here, and basically gave me a code for the game. So I've been playing it, and I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what any of my items are. I don't know how to do potions. I don't know if there's like a shortcut that you can do to quick attack with your magic. I have no clue.
So yeah, there is left L1 or right left bumper, I guess, since you're playing on Xbox, will pull up a quick menu, and you usually will have a couple spells and items there. The thing with this though, and this is again, since it's rooted in the PlayStation era, you have to equip items. You can't just use an item in your inventory. And that it's kind of a catch-22. It makes boss fights harder because you don't just have, if you have 99 potions, you can't just spam 99 potions and stay alive. You have to pick and choose the moments when you want to use your cure magic and when you want to use your potions to stay alive in boss battles. It adds a whole layer of strategy to the combat. But at the same time, I continually forget that I have to equip items. So I go into combat without potions. So yeah, you have to do that through the menu. But then eventually, once you do that, you'll have access to the items through the actual side menu that you see when you're fighting. And then your quick menu with L1 or left bumper.
Okay. So I still have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. You'll get there.
But
Olympus is a really good tutorial in terms of just the mechanics. Not necessarily the story, but the mechanics.
Okay. Well, I still don't think I'm going to have any idea what's going on in the story. But regardless, I'm probably going to be playing more of this in the short term because I'm waiting for my RAM to come in. And I don't really feel like trying to soldier through Assassin's Creed with failing RAM.
Probably a good move. Probably a smart decision on your part.
Yeah, especially since I have like over 130 hours in this game. I don't want to break something and lose all that. So I'm probably going to play Kingdom Hearts.
So we mentioned the frame rate issues. We mentioned the variable refresh rate on a TV. I'm actually using my FreeSync monitor.
Because you're rich.
Well, okay, so you have a G-Sync 4K monitor.
Which I can't use. Which I can't use.
You're also playing this on a 4K HDR Sony Bravia television.
Which you bought me.
I didn't, but that's fine. Brian did, because he's got the exact same TV. So that's proof and nothing else that he bought you that. So I needed a second monitor a while back, and I found this one.
Second monitor.
Well, I need it for work, dude. And I found this one at Best Buy. It was their best monitor in my price range.
Best Buy?
In my price range, yeah. and it has FreeSync too. So I've been using that with my Xbox, and while I do notice the frame rate drops because I can see them, I don't feel them because obviously the refresh rate of the monitor is dropping with me. So it still feels as fluid as ever. I did hook this up to my TV last night, and it's a lot more noticeable there.
Yeah, I feel like if I had a FreeSync monitor, I'd probably be okay with it, because I mean that's how I game normally, is with a variable refresh rate monitor.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'd be
And I
fine.
don't. I have a FreeSync monitor, but I'm using my NVIDIA card, so obviously it doesn't work with my monitor right now because mine isn't one of those. Mine doesn't do FreeSync through DisplayPort.
Yeah,
mine does it through
I forgot.
HDMI, which is why it works on my Xbox. So yeah, I've been using my FreeSync monitor on it. It's felt a lot better. I went through the Frozen level on my TV last night, and it wasn't bad. It was more noticeable, but at the end of the day, this is one of those where the logistical, analytical part of my brain just completely flies in the face of the joy that I'm having playing this game that I've been loving since I was in middle school. The story is still as convoluted and complex as ever, and I love it. I love the fact that this story is so freaking dense. Like, and you can see kind of how dense it is even within the community. You say you don't know what's going on, and you probably won't know. You were basically like even casual Kingdom Hearts fans who have played some of the games, but not all of them like I have. And you only need to go to one phrase to kind of understand the difference there, and it's the Aqua got Norded phrase. I have been saying this since the E3 trailer, and the reaction from diehards like me who took away from this trailer that Aqua got Norded, and casual and non-fans that, hey, Frozen is in Kingdom Hearts, kind of just proves that you don't have to understand the story to have fun with this game. It helps, but I feel like this has done a pretty good job of even later on, I'm 20 hours in, and they're still recapping events that happened in previous games for those who maybe haven't kept up with it or haven't played the previous games. So there's enough recap in there to kind of get a gist of why you're doing what you're doing. There's also a memories thing on the main menu that will replay some of the most important aspects of the previous games for you. So if you didn't go sit and watch Eurogamer's 37-minute long video like Shank did, or let's say you did and you like Shank and you still don't know what's going on, you can go watch those, and they're pretty good. It also, Jiminy Cricket's journal has recaps of all of the major characters that you meet throughout the game. So if you meet someone from the organization and don't really know who they are, you can go into your journal in your Gummy phone and just look up quickly who this person is and why they're important to the story. So there's enough in there to help somebody. But if you're like me and has kind of obsessed over this game for almost 20 years, the payoff so far has been really good. But that wasn't the only thing that released this week-ish. And the payoff on that thing wasn't as good. And of course, I'm talking about Anthem. Shank, do you have anything else you want to add to Kingdom Hearts 3, or do you want to just jump into the mire that is Anthem?
I've been noticing a trend the last couple of weeks of you attempting to segue into things, and like that's just.
I'm just trying to add some actual production value to this mess.
No, just no.
You gotta say though, they have been better. Like, at least I'm not like Dave, who just says Wolfenstein and we move on to a completely unrelated topic.
Yeah, that's true, but I do mute him.
That's true.
I physically move him to a different channel.
That is true.
Kingdom Hearts, I say I have no idea what's going on. That's true for the most part. I have some vague idea because of that 37-minute demo or recap video. Mm-hmm. But like, I have no idea. I'm playing it because I guess the very, very high level story. I'm like, okay, cool. That's kind of interesting. And I want to figure out I want to go to Pirates of the Caribbean world because pirates.
It's really cool. That's all I can say because of this freaking NDA, but it's really cool.
Well, all right.
Real quick. I didn't even talk about how it looked. It looks pretty.
It looks almost Pixar-ish.
Yeah, the lighting is obviously better because, real-time rendering versus, ray tracing in a server farm. and materials are obviously better, and there's more features and particles and stuff in the Pixar stuff. Somebody did a comparison on YouTube. I watched it today because I got past this part in the game last night of some of the scenes in Frozen that kind of mirror the scenes in the movie. And if you didn't know what to look for, if you're just kind of watching this as a passerby, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Noelle was saying last night when she was watching with me, it looked just like the movie to her. And obviously, I know it doesn't. But that is a testament to the work that these guys have done with Unreal Engine 4. It's a testament to Unreal Engine 4's ability as an engine, but also the artist in Square Enix to get the lighting the way it is, to get the materials the way they are. It looks really good.
And I think the litmus test for me will be when we get to. I'm assuming there's a Toy Story world. So I would
It's the
like
second
to.
world.
Okay, I would for me that'll be the litmus because like Toy Story for me was like I was all about Toy Story like 100%. So I have a very very vivid understanding of the look of that film. So to compare the film to the game when it gets to that point, I think to me will be like, okay, wow.
So for me, I feel like they nailed it. But obviously, you have a much more discerning eye than even I do. So, but
Well, that not just that, like for me, because like I've seen Toy Story so much that it's just like ingrained into me as far as like when you say Pixar, I immediately think of Toy Story.
yeah,
So yeah, that'll be kind of cool to see how far real time graphics has come. Honestly, if you can like kind of mimic
it's pretty good,
Pixar.
man. I even if it doesn't meet your expectations, it's surpassed what I thought would be possible at this moment.
Yeah,
At
so
least on the console.
So we'll see. Yeah, I don't doubt that this game will come to PC. I think it will. Probably 18 months from now.
I do doubt
but
it. Historically, I don't ever see Kingdom Hearts coming to PC, but I will be right there
Persona's
if it does. Not, I mean, it's not.
It is though, not Persona 5, but one of the Personas is.
Yeah, it's not. I would have known.
We should look this up.
In terms of the performance, though, I do have some hope that we'll see patches that will improve this. And all I have to look at is Final Fantasy 15's patches on console that it's received, and the performance enhancements and improvements that it's received as well, and the fact that they were even able to add in extra gameplay modes. So there is hope that there will be a 1080p mode, and if there is, I'll definitely use it.
Yeah, I would 100% use it because oh god, like smoothness would be pretty awesome. But I'm gonna probably definitely play this game more because I don't want to stress my PC any more than I have to.
Yeah,
at this point. So yeah, we'll get into that. But speaking of Anthem,
speaking of stressing your PC unnecessarily,
that was a much better segue from me, Bradford. Just completely pivoting, just with no indication. So the VIP demo was this past weekend. I played it and I wrote my impressions up on GameSpace. I have no idea if I have the link in the notes. I'm assuming Bradford's got something up on his stream, but it's up on GameSpace, and it's kind of an impressions piece of what I thought the game would be. I think people assume, because I talk about like microtransaction stuff, that I think they assume that I want this game to be bad and I'm just immediately not going to like it, which that's not the case. There's actually some things that I do like about this game. There's some things that I don't like about this game, and there's definitely some things that raise major red flags, which is kind of why I want to talk about this game. So first things first, the gameplay from this demo is exactly what I said it was going to be in 2017 when it was released. Like it was exactly like it. It is basically what Anthem is EA's games as a service. And it is their response to Destiny and to some extent The Division, which is Ubisoft's games as a service. So if you think about it, before Destiny went independent, it was Activision, Ubisoft, and you just had that one other publisher from the unholy trinity who did not have a games as a service. And boom, here's your Destiny, here's Anthem. I kind of knew exactly what this game was going to be from that perspective because, you're talking about EA. And when you talk about EA, you can't just kind of look at the gameplay in a vacuum and say, oh, this is fun. I like the shooting mechanics. You have to consider the company who is publishing the game, because that company will dictate how much of the gameplay you are allowed to enjoy before they kind of frustrate you with spending more money. So all of this kind of, for me, and I personally think for any discerning consumer, you have to think about this stuff, because at the end of the day, it is your hard-earned $60. No matter what anybody says, it's your hard-earned $60, and money is money. It's $60 isn't cheap. What did I like about this game? Well, there's actually quite even from this demo, right? So we know for a fact, let's start with what this demo is and what it is not. So Mark Dara, who is the executive producer on Anthem, he had tweeted how the demo would differ from the final build. So crucially, this demo is 6 weeks older than whatever their current build is, because he's talking about here that there's 6 fewer weeks of bug fixes in this demo build than what they have currently internally working on. There's no tutorial. There was no pilot picker for your javelin or your customization or what have you. They kind of just throw you into the middle of the story. The balance is different in terms of like enemies and stuff, but here's the crucial bit. Economy is completely different. Keep this in mind. The economy in this demo is completely different. Everything in this demo from a cosmetic standpoint cost 25 coins. Coins is the in-game currency that you can earn by playing the game. It's kind of like a reward. This is different from shards, which is their microtransaction currency, which at this point, that store it's not enabled. So we have no idea for a fact. We have no solid idea of what the real life price for those shards will be, although we can make very educated guesses.
Okay, so real quick, I'm looking at this Reddit post. This looks just like Destiny.
Yeah, right. So exactly. One of my buddies I used to work with, I had given him a code like as a friend link, because EA gives you 3 extra links, basically, are friend codes that you can give to people. I gave it to him, and he texted me and he said, "Yeah, my daughter walked in and she thought I was playing Destiny." And this is the problem with games as a service, is that you have these publishers trying to chase this trend. Not really sure why they're chasing it, other than they know that it generates money. And to be fair, that's really all they care about. Honestly, that's really all they care about is their bottom line. And in order to chase that trend and make money, they need to mimic the existing model. The problem is when you mimic the existing model, your games start to look and feel like each other. And it becomes an extremely derivative formula. And everything starts to look very homogenous in that perspective. I mean, because you look at Destiny and you look at Anthem, if you didn't honestly know what these two games were, I would not be surprised if at a glance you thought they were the same game. Of course, if you follow gaming, you know that they're not, even if by looking at them side by side. But if you look at certain things like the way they lay out some of their customization, for example, their customization screen, Bradford, if you scroll down on my article, there's a screen where you can customize the loadout for your javelin. And how do you navigate this? It has the same sort of cursor where you navigate around like you do in Destiny. I mean, there's a reason why they design things like this. It's because they're mimicking existing games as a service. And everything starts to look the same. Everything starts to feel the same. And that's the problem with this, is that at this point you're chasing a formula, and I feel like creativity and genuine gameplay innovation really struggles here. I feel like if BioWare could have done whatever they wanted, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm comfortable saying that they would have designed this game very differently from day one. And that kind of extends to the actual missions. The missions in this demo were extremely, extremely repetitive. They all consisted of collect X, deposit at Y, and defend Y from waves and waves and waves of enemies until everybody was dead. And then you moved on to the next area and you did the exact same thing. There was a dungeon I ran. And this dungeon, it could not have been, every single point in this dungeon had the exact same mechanics, the exact same, where it was not a challenging dungeon at all. Keep in mind, Mark Dara had said that the balance is super different. Balance, however, I don't think, even if they balance it differently, I don't think it's going to change the core mission structure, which is collect X, deposit at Y, and defend Y. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that can change with like, only 3 weeks out or whatever. And the other thing is the AI is incredibly stupid. They just rush at you. They blindly rush at you. And this is where I think this is a big difference between this game and Destiny, because Destiny is built by Bungie, and Bungie actually have decent AI. Just look at their Halo games. The elites distinctly behave completely differently from the grunts. The grunts, sure, they'll run at you, but once their leader elite is dead, they panic and run away. Anthem, it doesn't matter. Everybody's just going to start running towards you blindly until you gun them down. And that as a player, that doesn't force me to think differently. It doesn't force me to change my tactics. I just have to sit there, make sure I have enough ammo, and just shoot them. And that's it. And to me, that's not fun. That's not challenging. Some people might think that's fun. I don't think it's fun. It's not challenging. There's nothing different that's happening. This is the games as a service piece where everything just starts to look and feel the same. And I think it's not good from a creativity standpoint. The controls on PC for this demo for flight and swimming are just atrocious. I mean, they're unusable. They're actually unusable. The devs on Reddit acknowledge this, and apparently it's supposed to be much more refined in this final build, but I will believe it when I see it. It was unusable. I mean, it honestly, even down to the UI for the PC game, it was as if it was designed. The PC version, honestly, in this demo felt like an afterthought. Like they just put it on PC because that was a platform that they had to put it on. There was no real thought in terms of user interface for PC. There's no field of view slider for a game that has first and third person, which blows my mind. It overrides your Windows mouse acceleration settings and puts its own. These are all things that absolutely completely need to be reworked for the final build of the game, because if it launches with these exact things, you are going to piss off a large chunk of your player base. And that's not right. This is especially surprising when this is built on Frostbite, and what else is built on Frostbite? Battlefield 5, and it has extremely extensive PC options, customization, what have you. So it's not like the engine can't support it. It can. It's the people building the game need to make a proper PC version of the game. That was a negative point for me, was the entire PC experience, because it just felt like a complete and utter afterthought there. The interesting piece here, which kind of dovetails into the discussion topic, is the economy. This piece about the economy. Remember, Mark Dara said that the economy is not final. We know for a fact that there are no loot boxes in the game. This was kind of confirmed by them during EA's absolutely boring presser during E3 last year, that there are no loot boxes. Okay, there's no loot boxes, but there's always a but. There are microtransactions because this is a AAA game published in 2019. Now, the microtransactions in here, again, the cash shop isn't on, but if you go look at the customization in Anthem, and to its credit, there is a ton of customization. I mean, a ton. There's so much more customization in this game than there is in Destiny. It's honestly, I love the customization options in this game. For somebody like me who does a ton of customization, I appreciate just how much they allow you to make your Javelin truly unique. That's great. However, EA will step in here, and this is where they're going to start monetizing things, because if you scroll down in my article, you'll see that I took a screenshot of Banshee helmet that I found. And again, this is purely cosmetic, right? From a stats standpoint, this is not going to make you deal more damage. It's not going to make your aim down sights any faster. It's not going to make your health anymore. It's purely an aesthetic choice. However, you're going to get people that say, okay, well, this doesn't affect gameplay clearly. They're right. From a statistical standpoint, it doesn't affect gameplay. However, gameplay is more than just, does your gun do more damage? Is this stat larger than this stat? And I think when people say it doesn't affect gameplay, that's all they're thinking about is the stats standpoint. But gameplay isn't just a numbers game. It is all about the experience. Yes, the numbers are part of it, but it also includes things like, well, does the sound immerse you? How good are the sound effects? Does it feel good? How cool do I look? I mean, it's all of these things, right? So you have a statistical portion, and you have the intangible, which is the psychological effect of your customization. If developers did not intend for you to go in there and mess around with the way you look, they would not have put it in the game because there would be no reason for them to put it in the game. But games do have a customization option. They do allow you to go in and change your aesthetics because the developers want you to go in there and mess around with it because it is part of the gameplay. Making yourself unique is part of the gameplay. And this is where EA is going to get you, is preying on that psychological nature of, oh, I want to look cool. Sure, it doesn't make you shoot better, but you feel unique. You feel different. And that feeling, that emotional attachment that you have is so powerful that they know this and they will exploit you for additional money. And I think people forget that. And I think that's a shame. I think that's something that people absolutely need to remember and recognize. Even if you don't engage with the cosmetics, you need to recognize that it does have a massive effect on how you perceive the game and enjoy the game to other people. And that's really important. In this demo, everything costs 25 coins. Remember, coins is the currency that you can earn in-game just playing the game. The real currency is called shards. This store was turned off in the demo. You can see that
is in demos and betas and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. They realistically, they're probably going to tell you that it's not finalized. Cynically, I'm pretty sure because they don't want to expose the monetary to you until the actual game when everyone's already spent 60
I would assume
bucks.
it's a kind of a combination of the two. They're probably still setting up the infrastructure to handle it, but at the same time, they could have easily got it ready for this.
Yeah. So you can see here clearly 0 shards, right? Because that shop just isn't turned on. There was a post on Reddit here where somebody was able to get like their hands on the actual shop here. And before I completely dive into that, I wrote in this article, and I've been saying this for as long as this podcast has been out, that I have very cynical notions about the games industry. And it is because the games industry is incredibly predictable when it comes to these kind of things. And my cynical notions tend to be correct far more often than they are not. And especially when it comes to things like monetization, I'm generally correct when I take the stance that they're going to exploit, because the majority of the time they do exploit. So if we move over to this Reddit post, remember, I said everything in the demo was 25 coins. Let's look at the prices for these things. The cheapest item in this shop here is effectively a decal for a midnight shield, and it costs 8,000 coins. 8,000 coins.
Oh, yeah, okay, 8,000 coins. I'm sorry. I was reading the wrong one.
I don't know what you were reading.
I was reading the 400 shards.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. Okay, so this again, we don't know if this is accurate or not, but this looks, even if this is in testing or if this is something that they were thinking about implementing, and if this was just some sort of internal testing for prices and stuff.
This could have even been from a mock review somebody did.
Absolutely. Could have been from a mock review. That's a good point. This is still ludicrous because I had mentioned in my impressions that I don't doubt that what they're going to do is jack up the cost so much that they're going to make you as a player grind and grind and grind to get enough to afford even just a decal like this. Or what's going to happen most likely is people are going to say, I don't want to grind that much. I'm going to give EA some money, in this case, money for 400 shards, and just buy it from them. People need to understand that grind exists because it was designed to be there. It's designed to be there because they want you to go and spend real money for these cosmetic items. Mm-hmm. The grind is not accidental. It is designed. It is a conscious design choice. If you need proof of this, Shadow of War. Why was there a massive patch completely rebalancing the economy when they said that we're taking out microtransactions? Well, it's because the game was broken without those microtransactions, because the economy was balanced to make you want to buy those microtransactions. Same with Battlefront 2. Why did the game feel incredibly grindy when they got rid of those basically the pay to win options? Well, because it was designed that way to begin with. So we have clear proof of this with two very, very high profile titles. And if this is screenshot is anything to go by, This is going to make you grind a hell of a lot. To put this into perspective, I ended the weekend with about 130 coins, which I was, I spent on various customization items just to test out. But that was 130 coins, right? And this one graphite Midnight Shield decal costs 8,000. 8,000? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. Keep in mind that this is hardly the most insane premium currency thing that's come out within the last few months. I mean, it's not excusing it, but this is just, it has room to get even worse. Think back to when Street Fighter V put ads into their game, and if you didn't have the ads enabled, you would earn less currency by just playing the game. And it already takes an enormous amount of fight money to be able to buy the DLC characters without just spending $30 on the pack each time one comes out. So for them to decrease the amount you would normally get just because you don't want to see Guile emblazoned with the Capcom Pro Tour logo, it can only get more disgusting from here is kind of my point with Anthem. Anthem right now, the prices are disgusting, but just imagine how much EA will make it worse.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that we don't know what the price for shards are going to be, right? We don't know for a fact. However, we can make some educated guesses that it's roughly going to be 100 shards for every $1. So if we're looking at this, that graphite decal, 400 shards, $4. Compared to this Guardian armor pack, 2,000 shards or $20.
Those are Lord of the Rings online pricings right there.
I mean, that's insane. And think about this, okay? This is something that I really want you people to think about. The game is $60. They're telling you that this one skin costs a third the price of the game.
ESO has skins that cost $25. Lord of the Rings Online has skins that cost 1,600 Lotro points, which is about $20.
There you go. So
this is standard pricing for microtransactions, but that doesn't make them good.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm guessing that it's 100 shards per $1, because just judging off of existing prices from other titles, that I think it's a reasonable, educated guess to make here. But I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about in my article. They are going to tip this in their favor, EA, and make you grind and grind and grind until you become frustrated and fork over money. And if you still come up to me and tell me that it doesn't affect gameplay, it very clearly did, because you wanted to skip that 20 hours of grind and just hand over $5. It affected your gameplay because you didn't want to play that 20 hours. I mean, you can't tell me that doesn't affect gameplay. It very clearly did. So this is games as a service, guys. This is what games as a service does. I fundamentally, I think that there is a way that you can have a games as a service and have an actual value and an actual service. Warframe is a phenomenal example of this, where you as a company can make money, but you also don't screw over your consumers. This is not how you do it. This is called greed. That's exactly what this is. There's nothing short of this. And let me be generous here, and let me say that, okay, so this is actually the scale of these prices are off by a fact, by like 200%. So let's say that it actually should be half the price of this. Okay. Do you still think $10 for a skin, 1/6 the price of the game for a skin, is value? No, I don't think it is. I think any sane human being would say, no, I'm not paying 1/6 the price of a game just for a skin. Some people would probably say, sure, that's fine. I don't see what the problem is. But I think if more reasonable people than not would say, no, that's wrong. And again, we don't know if this is final or not. I strongly have a suspicion that this is not that far off from what the final economy is going to be. I hate being right sometimes in this industry. Again, I have no idea for a fact that I'm correct. I just have a strong suspicion that I am going to be here because this is EA. Mm-hmm. So that's Anthem. I personally think absolutely everything in this game hinges on the economy of this game and how they implement that. If they go with this, then from the company that gave you a pay-to-win Battlefront, it seems that they've pretty much learned nothing except to not include loot boxes. they're going to have to make their money another way. This is how they're going to do it. Charging you $20 for a skin, $4 for a decal.
They got to recoup that money because they, are removing loot boxes and microtransactions from FIFA and European countries now. So they have to make that money up somewhere.
Yep. And this is how they, even though they tell investors it has no negligible impact to their bottom line. That's what they tell investors, but
probably
to us,
doesn't either, but it's just
yeah, but making games is expensive, man. We have to put this in here.
Yeah.
So that's Anthem. Just there's an open beta. Actually, I should mention this real quickly. There's an open beta starting this February 1st, so on Friday, and it's going to be running through this weekend. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the exact same build that the VIP demo has. But
doubt it.
If you want to go in there and check it out, check it out. I mean,
if you have a PC
free.
and you've got Origin Premiere on PC and you want even more time with it before you decide whether this is a game that you really want to sit around and play a lot of, Origin Premiere gets the game as part of the subscription, and you actually get to play it on the 15th versus I think the actual release date is the 22nd worldwide everywhere else. So you can at least try out like the actual build of the game and see if it's for you without actually having to purchase the game outright. And if you like it, cool, you've got the game. If you don't, you didn't spend $60.
Yeah, and just to add on top of that, it's not just for Premiere owners. If you also have EA access or Origin access, so this is the cheaper tier of that. The difference here is that Premiere, exactly. So the difference here is that Premiere, you get the entire game unlocked, which I don't think it's as bad as Battlefield 5, because in Battlefield 5, once you got the entire game unlocked because of the heavy multiplayer component, you could legitimately gain an advantage in that time you were playing and no one else was. However, with Anthem, there is no PvP. It's purely PvE, so you can't really gain a competitive advantage from that perspective. For Origin access and EA access, it's the entire game. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. It'll be a 10-hour limit. I don't know if they're going to limit the campaign to a certain amount like they did with Battlefield and Mass Effect.
Yeah, they did with Battlefield. So I would assume they will with this.
Yeah, but either way, if you have Premiere or EA access or Origin access, hop in there, check it out, and play it. I mean, there's no reason not to. You paid for the service, you might as well use it, right? So just go in there, check it out. I don't know if they're going to turn on the shop by then. I would assume not, but let's see if they do. And just this really quickly, I wanted to talk about this because I think this needs to be cleared up. This really needs to be cleared up here. This was a tweet that was from Ryan McCaffrey. It's not really the tweet as far more than like what the tweet is implying, I guess. So he's basically in the tweet. There's a link here to an IGN article that's talking about PS5 dev kits, and Ryan McCaffrey, who is
this is a community article. This isn't. Oh no, this is an actual article.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's an actual article. Yeah, and that's kind of that's what. But he's basically saying in this tweet.
Okay, sorry.
He's effectively saying in this tweet, "Bring it on! I'm ready to see what next gen can do." So the article, if you actually look at the article, it links back to a Reddit post which has now been deleted. But because Imager is a thing that exists, we have posts of the content of that Reddit post, and I'm going to show this. Actually, I'm not streaming, so it doesn't matter. But there's a gadgets.ndtv article that I posted in the notes that kind of summarizes what that Reddit post was. And we were talking about this in our text chat, and I kind of want to spend a little bit of time discussing this and hammering home a point here. So the leaked specs, okay? So I want people to pay less attention to the leaked specs than the hype around the whole dev kits. The leaked specs, at least for the PS5, they're saying this is a custom 8-core 16-thread Zen 2 CPU. No surprise there. A custom Navi 8 teraflop GPU. Not too surprised there. 12 gigs of GDDR6 memory. GDDR6 is a little bit surprising, but considering it's AMD. And then 1 terabyte SSD. And then they're saying the price for this PS5 is around $400. $399 US. Let me say it that way.
I think you should have said it that way from the beginning, and you failed miserably.
And then there's two sort of Xbox consoles. One is a standalone discrete console. The other one is a streaming console. I'm going to talk about the standalone one, which is an 8-core 16-thread Zen 2 CPU, a custom Navi 12 teraflop GPU, 16 gigs of GDDR6. This will surprise me if this actually happens, but a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, at 1 GB per second bandwidth. I would be shocked if that was actually in the new Xbox. Legitimately surprised, like in a good way. And then it's supposed to have DirectX ray tracing and Microsoft AI. I don't know how something can have ray tracing. They probably mean it has hardware to support ray tracing. And then Microsoft AI, whatever that means. And this one is supposed to be priced at $499 US. Yeah, the only other difference between this one and the streaming console is that the streaming console is supposed to have 12 gigs of RAM, 4 teraflop GPU instead of 12, and a price of around $249 US. So roughly half the price. What I want to discuss is this notion of next gen. What does next gen mean? Because if you look at those specifications, let's assume for a minute that these specifications are true. Let's live in a dream world and say, okay, cool, that's true. If we assume that these specifications are true, I think the question that we naturally have to ask is this truly next gen? And I think there's two answers to that. Number one, you say, well, of course it is. Of course it's next gen because it's better than the previous consoles. And in that respect, okay, sure, it is quote unquote next gen when you're talking about, yes, this is literally the next generation of consoles. So it is next gen. Typically, though, when people talk about next gen, they're really talking about power and what can this thing do that the other thing could not do. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a fair assessment to make.
Well, yeah. When I was looking at the previous, generation consoles, and everybody was talking about the previous generation consoles versus what we have right now, that was the driving point. Does this play games better than my previous console? And I think that's kind of been hit or miss, throughout this entire generation. But
hell, Kingdom Hearts is 720p. I mean, that's
it's actually still a higher resolution than all the other games, though. So yeah, it's when people talk about next gen, they never mean that it's this is the 10th generation of consoles. No, when they say next gen, they want to see what games are going to look and play like. I don't think it necessarily just means graphics. I think it means, are there going to be any new gameplay abilities because of the additional tech, which we definitely did not see this time around.
Yep.
But yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it, right? So when you have people saying next gen, I can't wait for next gen, you have to pause and think, well, what is next gen? Because if we're actually looking at this from a sort of hardware standpoint, next gen was actually in 2017, right? Because what happened in 2017? Well, we got Ryzen CPUs, which are genuinely amazing. And we also got a graphics card called the 1080 Ti, which was the first the first consumer graphics card, because I'm not going to consider the Quadros or whatever like an actual consumer card. It was the first consumer card that could realistically play games, modern titles, maxed out graphics at 4K resolution, and more often than not, 60 frames per second. I say this because I had one. So if you're talking about next generation, what can the new hardware do that my old hardware could not? Well, what the new hardware can do is play the games at a much higher visual fidelity at a much higher frame rate, which, whether you perceive it or not, it's going to just be smoother. It's going to feel better. Everything's going to be nice and smooth, and you're going to be like, ooh, this feels cool. And you'd notice that because everything looks sharper, the graphic techniques are higher, and it's running at a smoother frame rate. But the key thing about this is this was in 2017. On the PC side of things, this is honestly the only place where genuine true innovation will ever actually happen, unless something crazy happens in the console space, which I doubt. On the PC, we're already a generation past that next gen, right? So if that next gen was 2017, we're already past that. And we're past that because we have real-time ray tracing and we have machine learning enhanced super sampling. Those are genuinely game-changing things. One is the actual holy grail of graphics, and the other one is purely there to allow for smoother, better gameplay at a lower resource cost. Those are huge leaps in technology. If we just went with the next gen from 2017, all you're getting is more horsepower of existing technology, not a true sort of inflection, not an inflection point. You're not getting a step change in technology here. That's what you're getting with the existing technology in ray tracing. So when you really break it down, the PC technology today is legitimately 2 generations ahead of even what the Xbox One X is. And that's just, I don't care how you compare it. That's just what it is. The Xbox One X has a CPU from tablets from 2012. There's no way to get around that. That's just what it is. So when you're talking about next gen, you're really talking about a 2017 PC.
Well,
if you want,
okay, so keep in mind Zen 2 isn't even out yet for desktop. So
Zen,
not entirely.
Zen 2 is not even out yet, but that core architecture at its foundation, Zen as an architecture is, and we already know, even if you put a Ryzen CPU in these consoles, it would be such a massive drastic difference that I think that's why I'm saying it's fair to say that 2017 works, because those 2017 Ryzen CPUs would give you such a much superior experience in terms of a performance perspective, even though, yes, you're right, Zen 2 is not out yet, of course. But I think this is where the media, the mainstream media is kind of misguided. And this is where I think your average consumer is going to latch onto this and be like, oh my God, next gen is going to be amazing. Because really, really, a true next gen console, you need to have, because again, we're living in a post ray tracing world. It doesn't matter that there's only one game that has ray tracing. It doesn't matter that there's only one game that has DLSS. The technology is out there. People can develop for it. It will happen. That's just what's going to, this is the new normal. And in this type of
will
world,
be the new normal. It's not the new normal yet.
It will be, yeah. The technology's out there and people will start developing for it. They're already developing for it. It's just a matter of when these things start pushing out en masse. And when you live in a post ray tracing, post machine learning world, that's basically your minimum benchmark. You need to have that as your target hardware and feature set. Anything less is you're just throwing more hardware at existing technology, and cool, you'll have higher performance, but it's not going to be something truly new. And I think this is where I caution games media from using that term next gen, because I don't think they truly understand what actual current generation hardware is allowing people to do. And I don't know if they realize that these technologies with ray tracing and machine learning, at least right now, even though AMD has publicly said that that's something that they're like actively working on, the fact is that they don't have any consumer hardware that can do these things. And if we know that these console manufacturers are using AMD as their sole vendor, given current information, there's nothing that will tell me that, okay, yeah, they're going to have ray tracing, they're going to have machine learning, even if AMD is saying we're working on it. I think right now, what the true next generation hardware has to have is basically the specs of this, but for people to understand that it needs to have this ray tracing and AI, because that's really what the next gen cusp is. If we go into another generation, like we went into this generation, where at the start of this current Xbox One and PS4 generation, your high-end PC was like so far beyond what the Xbox One and PS4 could do. And that gap has just continued to get bigger and bigger to the point where we're legitimately 2 generations ahead now. We cannot have a repeat of that next generation where PCs are in a ray tracing world and consoles are still stuck in rasterization. That's not going to be good for the industry. It really won't. I think people will be like, well, it's going to cost less, but from an industry innovation standpoint and creativity standpoint, I really don't think that's going to be a good thing. That's just my 2 cents. I think we need to have ray tracing and machine learning, and I think people need to understand that that's kind of the minimum that we should have. I know
we disagree on that point right there, because I do get what you're saying, that those are going to be the standard. But it's not right now. It's just not. It's one game for each technology. And yeah, over time, the portfolio will expand, in theory, we hope. And we can look back at the other technologies that have come out in the gaming industry and use those as kind of the precursor and the foreshadowing of what's to come. But it exists, cool, but it's not there in terms of consumer use just yet. Now, do I think that they should be in a console? Yeah, I think they should put as much power as they possibly can in a console. But at the same time, these consoles also should not cost $1,500. And unfortunately, you have to start making those sacrifices in terms of the performance and the technology that goes into it to ensure that people can still buy these things, because they're not making consoles to push technology. They're making consoles to make money. And if they can't sell these things, then what's the point of having them, you know? I do think that should be the bare minimum. Do I think it will be? No. I don't. I very much am skeptical of ray tracing and MSAI, which I'm going to assume is their own proprietary version of machine learning or whatever, to do a DLSS type application. I don't know. This is just me taking a wild guess here. I highly doubt that's going to be in this console, even though you've got people on Reset Era saying that it's true. We'll see. We have one person saying, check GDC 2019. That's just in a few months. We'll definitely see. We'll definitely see there. I honestly think, and this is where my issue with the use of next gen comes from. Just because you're in the games media does not mean you're an expert on every facet of the games media. I am not a business side expert of this by any stretch. I cannot write business analysis of the games media. But by a lot of accounts, because I am a journalist in the games media, people think that I should be able to. And that's just not my field. I'm really good with MMOs. I'm surprisingly good with survival games, which is why I keep reviewing them for IGN. And I'm pretty good at coming up with, critical analysis of certain games and reviewing games and hardware. But I'm not an expert on everything. And I think the issue is a lot of the really visible people aren't experts on PC hardware. And that's not really because, they need to be. I think they should. I think if you're going to talk hardware, even if it's a console hardware, you should know the landscape, the overall landscape of the hardware out there to a degree. The issue is for the people who are playing on Xbox right now, 4K 60 will be a generational leap for them. It will be. Just because it's happening on PC right now, those people who have been playing at 720p Kingdom Hearts 3 right now haven't experienced 4K 60. So yeah, it is an actual generational leap. It is next gen by that definition for them. But for someone like us, some people like us who have experienced 4K 60, who have played at the bleeding edge of all of this, it's not. It's 2017. It's old news. So for us, that expectation of what next gen is just going to be higher. I don't think these need to be ray tracing, because I don't ever think consoles are going to be pushing the envelope in terms of technical achievement anymore. They used to. When the 360 came out, it was much better than you could buy a PC for that same price. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point again. And I don't think we should ever think consoles should be the bleeding edge or even keep up with PC at this point, because they're just not going to. I do think we should expect them to be better than they were at the beginning of this generation. The consoles we got at the beginning of this generation, as bad as they were for the price and the comparable performance out there, you should not be able to buy the next gen console for the same price on a PC. It should be better than you could buy as a comparable PC for that price. I should not be able to go out and build a full PC that does full 4K Ultra 60 FPS for $400. But I should be able to buy a console that can do that. I don't expect to spend that much money on a ray tracing when a ray tracing GPU that does it the best is $1,500.
And let me kind of be clear about this, because I did not actually. I absolutely was not clear when I say this. I think it needs to have ray tracing and it needs to have AI. Do I realistically think it will? The answer is no. I don't think it will. So I don't disagree with you in that respect. I don't think it's going to have ray tracing. I don't think it's going to have any type of AI machine learning enhanced thing. And yes, I completely understand because I've read the papers and everything on this, that for NVIDIA, they had to invent those hardware. So you have a ray tracing core, you have a tensor core that is bespoke to NVIDIA. I get that. That doesn't mean you can't achieve machine learning by another way, but that's kind of missing the point. That I don't think
MSAI could possibly be doing that if I'm correct
Yeah.
in my analysis here.
I don't think, and here's the thing: when consoles they're meant to sell a lot of them, right? But the problem is, the problem comes when you want to pack in this technology, and you're like, oh crap, this is going to cost like $600. Well, this is the beauty of consoles, is that you don't make profit off of your hardware. You shouldn't anyway. You shouldn't aim to make a profit off of your hardware because, especially in the case of Microsoft, you make up all of that money in your software and services. And look how many services Microsoft is offering. I wrote about this and why I think Microsoft is best positioned for next gen, purely because of how they've set up their service infrastructure, especially if they have the streaming console on hand to do that. You can effectively use that streaming console to subsidize your more expensive console.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, you should have a console that has expensive tech, sell it at a loss, and make up that money with your services and software. Yes, you're supposed to sell these en masse. Yes, how do you do that? You make it affordable or relatively affordable compared to the hardware in it. If you as the company take a loss on the hardware up front, but what you're actually doing is you're taking a loss on your install base as an initial investment, but that install base is effectively recurring monetization for you because they'll buy your games. Exactly. It is a loss leader. They will buy your games. They will buy your services. They'll pay you for Xbox Live, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, let's not kind of get mixed up here with what I want to happen and what I think will happen. Those two things are completely different. I want ray tracing. I want this thing to be in this console. Do I think it'll happen? Absolutely not. I don't think we're going to get ray tracing in a console for at least another generation.
I would be surprised if we get it even then.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of power it takes. And
well, the amount of power it takes right now, not necessarily in 2020.
Do I realistically think that in even 2 years from now, they're going to be able to put something in a console that is going to effectively run it? I don't. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I don't have enough faith in AMD, I guess, to do something like that. I guess is really what it is. Yeah. I like the idea, though, of those two consoles, like you said. And I really think what they should do is push the envelope with a SKU. Just make a premium SKU, like we have right now and with both companies. We've got the PS4 Pro. For what it is, it's their premium SKU. It's not great, but it's premium-ish. And then we've got the regular, PS4. With the X, we have an actual premium console. And then we have the regular Xbox. Do that. People who want the premium console but don't want to spend the money on a PC will buy that premium console. And they'll get rewarded for that with better hardware. And then make a console for people who maybe just want to play games and doesn't have to be the bleeding edge graphics and resolution. Do something like that. You can make multiple SKUs at the beginning of this generation and give console players actual choice. I think, though, going back to the core issue here, though, is how next gen is used by the media. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that most mainstream writers aren't PC gamers. Yeah, they may game on PC. They may have a PC for gaming. But like in the case of Ryan McCaffrey, he's their Xbox expert. I know he has a gaming PC. I know he plays games on PC. But at the end of the day, he's paid by IGN to run their previews and know everything there is to know about Xbox. In the case of someone like Colin Moriarty, when he was at IGN, he was their PlayStation expert. Yeah, he had a PC. He played games on PC. He was very open about that there. But he wasn't there to talk PC. He was there to talk PlayStation. And when you do that, when your beat is just one thing, you forget that those other things legitimately exist. So yeah, you may know that NVIDIA has this brand new GPU, but you may not be as cognizant of the fact that it's got ray tracing and what a game changer that is. So when you say next gen, you completely ignore 1/3 actually 1/4 when you consider the Switch now, 1/4 of the major gaming platforms out there. And again, for us, ray tracing is amazing. 4K 60 is cool, but it's not new. And for console players, 4K 60 is a genuine generational leap. And the way it's worded by those really big talking heads in the industry, that's all they're thinking about is, 4K 60, something that was possible a couple of years ago. They're not thinking ray tracing because in their mind, it's just out of sight, out of mind. And I think that's the most irresponsible part about this. I don't think you have to be an expert in every aspect of the industry, like I said, but I do think when you talk about hardware, you should have a conversational and general knowledge of the hardware landscape. You don't need to know the intricacies of what a teraflop is, but you do need to know that, ray tracing exists and it's game changing. You do need to know that machine learning exists and it makes Final Fantasy 15 look really pretty.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like I have to caution people who can influence the conversation to really, when you say next gen, like, what do you actually mean by that? Have you considered the landscape when you're talking about next gen? When you're talking about this, like, okay, I've considered this is the tech that exists today. This is what's in the consoles. Like, so when you say next gen, you have to be very careful because just given the position that you're in, you can very easily kind of misguide the conversation and not really provide the proper context to your readers or viewers of what exists and what you should be shooting for. Even if you you should be shooting for ray tracing, even if that won't happen in the console, it's still something that I think you should bring up and discuss and say, well, why can't we have that? Because I think even to question it is kind of a responsible thing to do.
Yeah. To be fair, when people talk next gen, nine times out of 10, they're never referring to PC anyway. So PC being considered in the discussion is typically never part of it because PCs get a new generation technically like every year.
Every 18 months.
Yeah. So when talking heads, even when you mentioned your article, you were talking about literally the next generation of consoles after this particular one. So even then, yours had probably more of a PC focus as well in terms of the whole overall conversation.
Actually, honestly, no. I was literally that entire article I talked about was why I think Microsoft is best positioned for the next generation, and it's purely because of their software and services.
Right. What I'm saying though is you likely factored PC into that discussion more than anybody else would do normally.
I don't think I did.
Anyways, whatever. I'm sure it was there somewhere. You can't get through an article with talking about without talking about PC.
The letters P and C were in there somewhere.
Yeah, they were possibly not together, but in the same sentence at least.
Yeah, I again, don't mistake me and think that I want this and this.
No, you
the
do
next
want
generation
it,
consoles have to have this.
It's going to have it.
Exactly. Like, I think there's a very clear difference. I want this. Do I think it's realistic and it's going to happen? No, I don't. I honestly don't think this is going to happen. I would have loved for these guys to go with NVIDIA as their vendors. I know that they're going with AMD because these guys have APUs and NVIDIA kind of really doesn't on that front, especially when you consider the fact that AMD has CPUs to go in conjunction with that. So you can get a very nice little ecosystem on incredibly low level API running very nicely and humming along. Man. Ryzen is legit. And especially when
PC.
Because especially I think that the PS4 is OpenGL. I know the Xbox is DirectX 12. I mean, you pair those low level APIs with quote unquote custom hardware and they will punch above their weight. I still think that consoles need to be kind of overpowered and sold at a loss. That's just kind of how they were. They got away from that this generation. And I also think if you make a slightly overpowered PC with some kind of envelope pushing technology, again, it doesn't have to beat the best PC out there because it never will. But will it be at least as powerful as a high-end PC that most PC gamers don't have, yet cost much less? Cool. You have a quality value proposition on your hand that now you can now go pedal, create an install base, and then reap the rewards with your software and services. I think that's truly how, from a business standpoint, you can kind of make that money if you sell at a loss. But I just don't think these specs are realistic. I don't think it's going to have ray tracing or AI. I just don't.
Well, let's hope we're wrong, because it would be really cool to see at least some sort of
It would
low-level
be really cool. It would honestly be
implementation.
awesome. It would legitimately be awesome if they had ray
And
tracing.
honestly, I think if
support.
anyone is going to add it in, it would be Microsoft, just because they've got the DX12 support already built in.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how our ray tracing cores and especially when NVIDIA does their drivers and stuff. I mean, it's directly engaging with that DXR
Yeah.
to do that. So NVIDIA just all NVIDIA did was build custom hardware to do those BVH calculations. That's literally it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like NVIDIA has like the card has ray tracing. I'm just telling people in general. It's not like the card has ray tracing. No,
It does.
NVIDIA
It has
just
all of the
created
rays and traces them.
Yes, NVIDIA just created hardware to allow those calculations to be like basically done in a high efficiency manner. So that's all they did. That's all they did. Same thing with the tensor cores. Actually, it's just math. It's can you dedicate hardware that does this math, this matrix by matrix calculations efficiently? Yes. Okay. Cool. We'll create the hardware. But that's it. That's really all I want to talk about. It's kind of a cautionary tale of what next gen is.
Was there a boombox involved?
There was a boombox involved, and it did save the world.
Okay, good. Speaking of how people can save the world, they can ask us how many teraflops we are by going to us on Twitter and following us at GTI Podcast. They can follow Brian, whose miserable mug is back up on the screen, at SilentFairy007. Or if you want to follow his hijinks at Miserable Brian, you will not be sorry. It's the best Twitter account on all of the Twitters.
Especially his 10-year challenge picture. I thought that was very well done.
Oh, yeah, where's that? I forgot. Wait. Cheerful Chris. I didn't... What is this Twitter account? Is this his friend?
I have no idea.
He looks... This is like Ginger Miserable Brian. This must be...
I don't know who this person is.
He looks like Brian. I wonder if this is like a brother or a cousin.
He looks younger than Brian.
Well, everyone's younger than Brian. Like, even 100-year-old World War II veterans are younger than Brian. This has got to be someone related to him. I need to find this out. This is now a quest.
I think you should DM him.
I'm not going to do it right now. Anyways, you learned something new, guys. Brian in the bathroom. Okay. Anyways, you can follow Brian at Miserable Brian. You can follow myself at LRT Allure. You can follow Shank at Shank the Tank.
Yes, you can visit us at gamingtheindustry.com for an RSS feed, and that's basically it. We're on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and various other podcasting things. Join us every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time for new episodes, usually on my channels, but I probably need to like reinstall OBS because it's not working. I don't know what's happening.
Windows.
Yep.
And ray tracing.
And yep. Shows will generally be up on my YouTube channel. This one probably is most likely not going to be up on my YouTube channel, but that YouTube channel is youtube.com/shankthank, and the video on demand versions are under the Gaming the Industry playlist. That's about it. Let's say our goodbyes.
Okay, so I've got the 10-year challenge up on the screen, and it is still by far one of the most hilarious things I've seen in my
It's incredible.
life. This is just, Brian is incredible. He does not get enough credit for how incredible this Twitter account is.
I'm telling you, man, it's the framing. The framing of the images is what gets me.
I feel bad because, we constantly just, be young and millennials in our chat, and he's just old and grumpy. But like this is pinnacle. This is peak Brian right here.
Yes.
Anyways, peace out, guys. I don't know what we're playing this week, but we'll be playing something on Saturday, so come check us out.
Yep, we'll be doing stuff. I don't know what, but stuff will happen. Peace out.
Oh, I forgot I was the one who had to go off.